I have a question for Guillaume. So Frank is a big fan of the Captor X, and we've talked about it, and he's told me some of the differences, but I haven't had time to go look it up, and I know it's been out for a while, and it's a shame on me for not looking it up, but I figure, hey, I got the guy who creates these things, so I might as well ask him instead of Google, right? So I'm using this guy, which is like the older version. What really makes the difference between the technology that went into this first iteration, which you can still buy, and the Captor X? What are we looking at in terms of differences? If I were to go out and buy one today, and I didn't know between this model and the Captor X, what would make me sway one way or the other?
I think it depends on the application. There are many tiny changes internally. The analog part is similar on the input side, except the Captor X has an isolation transformer, but mainly because the Captor X also has a power supply, which you don't need for a Captor, or you can use phantom power just for the output. But the Captor X has a power supply. You may run into some grounding issue. So we're like ground loops. So we added an isolation transformer. I think to me, it's if you're in the studio, it's interesting. I need to stop making signs. That's the Italian part of my ancestors that is speaking like, come on. So if you're in the studio, Captor X is interesting. If you want to print something with the simulation, because you have your few presets you're using on everything, and it's quick, you don't have to look back, it's done. If you're willing to keep the let's say the flexibility, you can use one output for like dry recording, one output wet recording with the speaker sim and everything, and you still get to mess with it with Word of Sound or Genome, or you just use the final recording with the speaker sim. The other interesting thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our users are just bedroom players like myself, and the headphones out on the Captor X is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
So it's stereo, and again, if the idea is just to get a headphones output out of your amp, that's probably one of the best headphones output you could get, and definitely the best for the money you could get on the market today. But that's not really you, John. For recording, I think the main difference would be, do I want to have it direct and I don't touch anything or not? For people on stage, it's a huge difference, because you will not use another speaker sim after your analog Captor. You want to go direct to front of house, and you may plug your IEM into the headphones out of the Captor X. I mean, there are many tiny things in terms of the output setup of the output. Since you have two outputs, you can send one signal with one EQ, another signal with another EQ. Depending on your sending to front of house monitors, if you want to have something different in your monitors. So the Captor X has more flexibility. It can still do the dry thing, but it gives you more flexibility into your recording or playing live. And that's pretty much it. The load box part is very similar. The line out is different because you have the digital into the Captor X, so it's not designed the same. You don't need the phantom power because it's powered, the Captor X. So that's the main thing. To be honest, usually, I mean, for sound engineers, they either use the analog Captor, or when they can find one, they use the Torpedo Reload, which is a very, very good product. And they use the modeling into their DAW. But for let's call them regular guitar players, they just want headphones out, and they want to record what they have on the headphones out directly into their demo, and it works great. That's easier that way.
And can you upload? Sorry, Frank. Can we upload IRs onto the Captor X?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Use your own stuff. You can mix too. I mean, it's a different way to do it, but to me it's faster. Like, if I was still recording stuff, which I don't have the time to, but if I was still recording stuff, I would probably use a Captor X just for the ease of use. I was mainly recording demos, like not proper albums. I was just an amateur sound engineer, and for demos, what kind of sound are you searching for? Pa, 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 pa. Done. And I don't have the time or the budget to reamp or to go back to the recording or to spend 5 hours finding the right mic. No. This is the type of sound you're searching for. And it was, I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, without those digital tools, you would have one cabinet, you would have probably a pair of microphones. That's it. Like nobody's reamping anything afterwards. There's no budget. There's like 1,500 euros to record 4 tracks. That's it. I'm not spending 20 weekends on that. I have this weekend, and at the end, it's done.
Yeah.
And for Captor X, it's more like a live type of situation. And it works amazingly well in that type of situation where you don't want to mess forever with your guitar or bass.
I have my favorite application for the Captor X is actually twofold. One is like similar to yours, where I'm just gonna use both outputs in stereo, and I use the what's it called? The twin tracker. That's when I want I don't have a lot of time, but I want to record like a backend track or something, and I want the guitars to be like done. I don't want to record like 2 tracks, just one take, and that's like the easy part. But the other one, where it's like a little bit more like in depth, my favorite application is I also use both outputs. One output is like the cap that I just chose at the time, and the other one is dry without any cabinet applied, which obviously in isolation sounds terrible because you don't have a cabinet. But then afterwards, if I'm not sure about the sound, or if it doesn't sit well in the mix, I recab the whole thing. I just back then I used Wall of Sound, now it's Genome, and I just use that dry without a cabinet track, and I just create the cabinet in the plugin, which is great because it gives you like a lot of flexibility. So these are like my 2 favorite scenarios for Captor X.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you guys are trying to push me into buying a Captor X, right?
Yes.
Frank has been telling me since we started the podcast. He's like, dude, you need a Captor X, and I keep like really stalling on it because I have everything kind of streamlined here. But now I'm like, imagine if I didn't have to use Wall of Sound on my tracks, because I could get the IRs that I want directly into Captor X and just switch to the ones I need. So I think I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, I know a guy.
Oh, you know a guy? I don't know him as well as you do, but I know a guy too.